We should start seeing these things go up. Sending data.
All right, so we've got a potential third attempt. Is the magic charm, do we think?
Maybe. Streaming.
What's the blue one at the top?
Facebook, or no, YouTube streaming.
Hey!
So I think it's working this time.
There we go.
We're not going to load up TikTok because apparently that destroyed our computer.
And it even says excellent, and hopefully the audio is in sync. So if anyone actually has lived through this long enough and wants to come, oh yay, nice, it's working now. All right.
Yeah, we're not going to load TikTok.
Thank you, lol, sir. We got ambitious and tried to hit all the platforms at once. We have 5 on Restream, and then we added TikTok. And once we hit the TikTok button, that was the killer. So anyway, we are back, and we should start over.
Yes.
With your CES adventure. So everyone sees the 5090 here. We posted a little unbox video of just the sounds of opening that up. You went to CES for the first time since January, or in 10 years.
Yes, the first time since January.
In January. It's been 10 years since we've been at CES. It's been since October that we did a live stream. So this is our first in quite some time, and your first CES in quite some time. Jensen did the keynote. They had an editor's day. We've got a 5090. Talk about that experience a little bit.
It was intense. I think the first event, so it started off with snowstorm hit the Midwest, and my flight got pushed to, it got brought back to Sunday, so I didn't have any delays on Monday.
Well, you moved it up a day.
Yeah, tons of snow everywhere. I got there a day early, got a kind of lay of the land a bit, but the first, the keynote was just insane. You have the line just for press was going back. Everyone wanted to see that keynote. And there was a lot of topics brought up. I mean, we came away with just, of all things, just a little video on digits that just took off. There's a lot of interest in every area. So not just PC workstation use cases, but also a lot of enterprise-focused stuff. And that's where NVIDIA's making a lot of big moves.
Yeah, so I've been to GTC a number of times, and I'm used to the Jensen keynotes there, but it's his own show. So he's the lead keynote. He normally goes for an extended period of time, like 2+ hours. So those can be a little difficult to work through, but they're always excited about autonomous driving and ray tracing and all these other technologies. At CES, with a more generalist tech crowd, they're probably not used to seeing Jensen live, and so maybe there was a bigger draw, plus 100 and whatever, 50K people there.
Well, yeah, although everyone was looking for what's going to happen next with the consumer side, but then I'm not sure they realized, like, it wasn't just consumer gaming, it was everything else that they were interested in.
Well, the Digits one specifically was one that was unexpected. At least we didn't have any heads up on that, and we were briefed on a lot of things. And for those that don't know, I mean, the key hype is around the 5090 for good reason. Gamers everywhere rejoice, and possibly AI developers too. We're working on that review currently. But the Digits is a little tiny NUC-sized box of Grace Blackwell in a little teeny tiny box. That's amazing.
Yeah, we had like 4, so there's not information on it. There's a couple of sketches, but looking at the back, there's 4 what appears to be USB-C or Thunderbolt parts, little RJ45 guy, and then 2
Connect
appear
X
maybe.
something.
Oh yeah, it looks like maybe a 100 or 200 gig port, which you're talking about a NUC, or a NUC shape.
NUC size. Yeah,
yes, not a NUC, but yeah, I mean, insane hardware capabilities for what, 3,000?
$3,000 with a Grace Blackwell 10
Yeah.
inside. Which, if it looks like any of the other super chips, it'll just be a shrunken down version. It's substantially bigger than a NUC, though, isn't it? I mean, I didn't see anything side by side, and I didn't see it with my own eyes.
I mean,
compared to the size of this hard drive box,
it was maybe slightly wider than a NUC, but around the same.
the hard drive box in my hand.
No, it was smaller than that, substantially.
Okay, smaller than the hard drive box.
Yeah, so if you've seen a normal NUC, and then you've seen like the Extreme guy, this is like just maybe a little bit wider than a NUC and probably the same height.
And so we always are talking about jamming AI power into systems. This just separates the AI power into its own system.
But yeah, we've seen, I mean, on the enterprise side, if you want to approach a lot of AI workloads, especially for VRAM requirements. You're talking like not just a L4, which is kind of cheap, but you're looking at an L40 or above. And what's L40 go right now? 10,000?
15.
Yeah, somewhere on there.
Well, even that guy's 2,500.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about a digits thing for $3,000, desktop size. I mean, I guess the downside is you can't run Windows on it, or maybe that's the upside.
Well, I mean, a lot of the AI workloads that are focusing on the new RTX, those are running on Linux on Windows. So,
Linux on Windows?
well, subsystem.
Okay. So the key today is the 5090. So at 12 Eastern today, the wraps came off us being able to show it and talk about it. Ours came in over the weekend. We can't talk about data yet. That'll be what, Thursday, Friday?
No, but I mean, we can talk about its physical features.
Yeah, so physically, if you saw the unboxing, it comes in this, I mean, this even cardboard holder itself is really quite robust and fully recyclable, although it seems a shame to recycle this. It's a really nice piece of cardboard.
Oh, yeah. So what's funny is this card's what retails for probably, I think it's going to,
That's $2,000.
Go for $2,000. We had a notebook that was substantially more than $2,000 shipped to us in kind of condensed packaging. It took a hit from FedEx and
Something
it did
along
not
those.
survive. So it's nice to see that you could probably run this thing over and it would.
Well, this, yeah, I mean, the notebook came in a thinner box than this and was destroyed, but this still came inside a larger box that has more padding on it. But the entire thing's recyclable, which is kind of neat. But yeah, this is really beefy, protects the card inside. The card itself is really small.
Yes, and in more ways than one. So we have two Founders Edition models side by side, the original 4090, and let me move this keyboard and this coffee so I don't dump it on the card. The Founders Edition 4090 is a 3-width card, so it needs 3 PCI slots. The 5090 is back down to just 2 card widths, which is pretty cool since workstations you can probably get by. SLI configurations get a little bit tricky with a 3-width card, but the 2-width card, it's special. If you're doing a 1U server design like the HP right here, a lot of those can leverage a graphics card. The 6008 series, for example, 2-width design, which is roughly the height of a 1U server. So now you can put your 5090 back in that platform.
You think people will be running this in a server?
Well, it's not a server, it's a 1U workstation.
You think people will be running this in rack mount things? I mean, the question is going to be the cooling, right?
Well,
I know you're excited about that too.
Yeah, I mean,
So part of the thinness comes from the cooling design. It's still air cooled.
I wish I had a flashlight because there's something I want to show you that's pretty cool on this.
Well, we don't have a flashlight. You'll just have to describe it with words. But this is thinner because of the cooling design.
Yes, well, cooling design, and so a big difference between these two cards. I believe this guy topped out at 450 watts. This one will go up to 600 watts.
Yeah.
And it's able to do that on roughly the same airflow requirements. One of the interesting parts of it, they were showing how cooling's progressed through the years on graphics cards. And one interesting part compared, when you look at the 4090, I'm not really sure if, actually, flash out on your phone for a sec. This is...
Yes, sir.
So, on the 4090, one part they did was, in this form factor, the card itself...
I don't know that's going to show through onto the camera.
Well, you might be able to see some light. Anyway, okay.
If you can't see it, just lie and say that you can.
You can see through this area. It's full pass-through. And that allows, you have heat pipes, and you're able to disperse a lot of the heat from the card into that air path. Now, you would think like, okay, well, the card on this one follows this path right here. You get your DisplayPort and HDMI connections in the back, and you're kind of stuck with, you're always going to have a card in that position. Now, when you go to the 5090, you can see through that.
I can see through that.
Yeah, there's not really a card right here.
Right.
There's little pipes that carry the DisplayPort and HDMI feeds, but you're able to have pass-through on the front, pass through in the back, and the main card segments in the center.
Just
so
in the center.
Well, yeah, so you have more passages for air to flow through, disperse heat, and you get some interesting design changes. And then there's, are we allowed to mention the part with the heatsink?
The liquid metal?
Yes. Okay. So
Well, I don't know. I didn't read the NDA, but I already said it.
Well,
Yes,
yeah.
I think we're allowed to talk about that.
okay. So same type of thermal paste approach that the PS5 took, for example, where they're leveraging a liquid metal, which has other efficiencies for getting heat into the heatsink pretty quickly. There's some other challenges with that. I don't really want to go into the scientific or hazardous shipping components part of it, but it has some interesting challenges. And then you even look at the power connector, which has been pretty controversial on the 4090 since it came out. And this is one thing that was interesting. So we've seen this. This is the little breakout cable that came with the 4090, and it's kind of a
It's
stiff,
rigid.
yeah. We got the 5090, and it is using a much higher grade cable. It's really flexible.
This is the difference between fettuccine uncooked and a nice limp spaghetti.
Yes.
I mean, it really is a huge difference. A couple questions from the various chats. This guy, under load at 600 watts, air cooled, does it sound like a jet engine?
No, although I do have some early comments on sound. You can hear it. I'm not quite
Well, you're
sure.
going to hear it, and we're testing in a couple different scenarios, and probably with the door off on the system, I imagine.
Yeah, so there's fan noise isn't that bad. I think in our consumer area we have an open test bench, so the car is just out sitting in the middle, and you don't have case walls or anything blocking the noise. You do hear the fan. You hear air movement, but it's not like a small high RPM fan. It's a pretty subdued noise. You end up hearing other parts of the case or other components probably similarly. It's not like it stands out as just the GPU load.
If you don't have one of those digital electric meters, you can probably hear the little spinner guy outside your home once you boot this thing up.
Although, I mean, it has been pretty cold in Cincinnati, and I came into the lab today, and to heat up the building early on, I turned on a bunch of servers. So
That's how we heat up our office, is turn on more servers. So not too bad. It's skinny, which is nice.
and it doesn't get hot. So the cooling's roughly equivalent of these two dudes. I don't really want to go into any specifics because we can't really dive into that part yet.
We'll try to do more of that in the review on Thursday.
Yeah, but both these cards function pretty much equivalently in terms of like thermal characteristics. So it's not like, hey, this thing screams with 600 watts and it's gonna you're not gonna smelt anything next to it. But
I'm just still amazed at the size. And this is, of course, the Founders Edition. So this is NVIDIA's design. Once this gets out to partners, Gigabyte, Asus, etc., they'll do RGB and triple fans and whatever they want to do, right?
yeah, or like our friends over at Camino, they generally come out
I
with.
just mentioned that in the chat. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
they come out-
liquid-cooled version of this will be sick.
Well, yeah, they have a single slot variant of all their cards because they go with a really high-end water block, and you don't need a lot of space for that, and you'll end up having, I think they have a configuration with a 6-way 5090 they've already talked about.
Yeah, they did it with a 4090, so this shouldn't be any different. The only difference is going to be power supply, right? Because we saw in some of our systems where we could physically fit this card in no problem, but there weren't enough headers for
Yeah,
the GPU.
So for example, we did a test earlier. I was going to say earlier this year. I think it was last year.
On the A6000
Yeah,
or the
we were looking
6000
at
ADA.
performance workload differences between a Dell Precision with a 6000 ADA and a Alienware R16 with a 4090, and we were going to leverage that Alienware platform for a lot of the testing. One thing that we realized though is the Alienware platform leverages one of these connectors. There's 3 headers, and it presented some challenges from a power standpoint, which we ended up going to a slightly different test bed for our testing. But you have, not all chassis are designed for this sort of power load. Like even so, Precision has 4 8-pin headers on it, but that's designed for 2 6000 ADA cards and SLI, which, if you guys aren't familiar,
Are you that old? You don't call it NVLink?
no, it's not connected.
It's not physically connected?
Yeah, the newer cards, they're
All right, I guess I'm that old.
yes.
All right, so speaking of that, there's a couple questions on YouTube about these cards versus the workstation cards, and you're starting to dive into it. As Kevin said, we did put up a piece last year, sounds so long ago, but it's on the website, storagereview.com, check it out, looking at a 4090 versus the 6000 ADA to really understand, like, we know that the 6000 ADA is going to be probably the best choice in almost every workload for professional graphics, for rendering, for GIS, for AI, for any of these things.
For certified use cases, this is an important part, since in
Okay.
a lot of our testing, rendering in other areas, the 4090 will be faster than the 6000.
Okay,
but
fair.
but that also goes back down to one of the earlier, where you cut me off on power.
Yeah.
The 6000 ADA with a lot of VRAM, I think like double the 4090. Its power constraint is limited down to just, I think it's 300 watts.
Right.
So it's designed to operate at lower power or higher power constraints.
Lower peak power.
Yeah, so it's going to more refined areas. The 4090 and the 5090 don't really have that in mind. So I'm not really sure what the updated workstation variant is going to be that would compete head-to-head with the 5090 just yet. But you're probably going to see lower power thresholds on that than the consumer card.
Yeah, and so when we think about where these cards go, these are almost always deployed in units of one. I mean, you said Camino will put 6 in a server.
Yeah.
It's not impossible, but they're typically used by one system, one card, one user. That's it.
Yeah, SLI, you have to get very specific on use cases to find the advantage of it. Not that all workloads couldn't take it, not that some workloads couldn't take advantage of it.
Right.
But by and large, a lot of workloads. Even in we had a quad 6000 ADA platform in a few months ago. It's hard to find workloads that can fully take advantage of it. You have to have.
It's harder than you think to benchmark.
Yeah.
Because scaling from 1 GPU to 4 or 3 or 2, we've seen it in the HPZ systems. We've seen it in the Dell Precision systems.
Wait, if you're trying to get more performance from like a game, that's probably not going to happen. You're looking at one area that that Supermicro platform really shined was we were leveraging Topaz's video AI, and we had 4 jobs going at the same time, and those 4 jobs were able to all complete at roughly the same amount of time.
Splitting up, right? Going 1 job per GPU.
Yeah, so you could run 4 jobs faster than you could on a single GPU platform, but it's just that software is set up to take advantage of multiple GPU devices. Games and other rendering applications are generally not able to do that as well.
So in our review, we will be looking at this compared to the 4090, compared to the 6000 ADA, with as many benchmarks as we can.
Yes.
The early driver set isn't perfect yet.
Wait, I mean, the card's not public yet. It's going to ship, what, end of January?
Jan 30, I think, is the public release. $19.99 is the publicly stated price for the Founders Edition. But I said all that to say, the questions that we're getting in, we've got a couple about, does it have NVLink for one?
No,
So
they dropped that out of the consumer and the workstation cards. I mean, they really want, if you want a lot of VRAM, you have to buy a more expensive card. That's been kind of an interesting struggle in the lab, as we have an abundance of L4s, but not an L40.
Right.
Or you get an L40 and it's like, hey, it's a little bit less than like an H200. But like, you have to buy that more expensive product to get more VRAM. And that is one area where I wish it had some changes there, but
yeah, well, I would say though that for a period of time, NVIDIA had, it seems like 8 or 10 different graphics cards for servers. The 30, the 35, the 40, 45, like there were so many. Now we're kind of down to, for the edge cards, the 200, 100, L40S, L4, that's it.
Oh yeah, and we had a weird period of time where, based on production limits, you had people still trying to find like the T4 instead of the A2, and it was just you you bought what was available.
Yeah. So no on the NV Link. The other questions were around vGPUs. So now you're drifting back into trying to make this a professional card. And that's kind of the weird thing, right? Is you were at the launch event and they're talking about all the AI tools available to this, much of it gaming related, but not all of it. So this does continue to blur the lines between which card do I want for my professional workload tasks. It may not always be the workstation card.
Yeah, it all comes down to really what your budget is and what you want to leverage on
But
the card.
vGPU probably not.
Yeah, vGPU requires licensing on top of the card itself, at least what we've seen on past projects.
I don't think if we haven't tried to throw this in a hypervisor server, so I don't even know what VMware would do.
You'd be able to see it as a PCA device and pass it through a VM and probably use it as if it was a locally attached card.
Right, but like you said, even in VMware, when you want to slice the GPUs and use the multi-instance feature, that is that a license? I can't remember what anything is anymore in VMware.
The slicing of the GPUs was a licensed element, and only certain GPUs supported. That was kind of one of the reasons why we had that E2 early on. We had little micro slices for some VDI projects.
Have you tested in Linux yet?
Yes.
I'm not sure what that response means. What it worked?
I tested in Linux. I can't really say much more than that.
Okay.
I have an early driver that is for Windows.
Well, what about the early driver for Linux?
I have an early driver for Windows.
So more Linux work to be determined. For water cooling, could the I/O and PCI interface be separated from the board?
I don't think anything's impossible for this card. I don't really want to take it apart because...
No, it's our only one. Let's not destroy it yet.
It's our only one, and with the liquid metal and other things, like, I don't have a way to easily put it back together in the original fashion of its build.
Okay, so for everyone that worries about liquid anything in their systems, liquid metal, how concerned should they be from 0 to 10 on it leaking and fouling up their entire system?
I mean, well, there hasn't many reports on these, but I don't think there's more than a few hundred of these things out there. But on PS5s, I mean, I don't think there was a lot of failures related to liquid metal. It was more of people having the thing up, like, sideways or up, or I think a lot of it just came down to you had early flaws on the platform that was out there. What, millions shipped? You're going to find some problems with it.
Oh yeah. I mean, clearly. I mean, the silicon will fail too in those systems, but everything will fail in a system, especially at volume. I'm curious. I don't know how to ask you this on live without putting you on the spot, and I don't know if you want to be on the spot or not. Moving these around across geo borders, is there anything you want to talk about?
Liquid metal is apparently an interesting problem.
Well, you have to disclose on the box. It'll have all the sort of disclosures of what's in the thing, right?
Yeah, because like lithium, if you're shipping around lithium products, there's different stickers depending on if it's a product that is primarily lithium, a product that has some lithium. But like, even if we're shipping around a server that has like a coin cell battery, that has a sticker on it.
Has a sticker, yeah.
If you're shipping around a storage array that has, we encounter this more often than normal.
The backup battery?
Yeah. Rechargeable batteries inside of a lot of the storage products we look at for flashing out DRAM buffers, that's another sticker. This guy apparently has some interesting import-export early grumbles, you could say, but it's just more of how it shipping from the United States to other countries, customs gets involved. And I think it's just, prior to this, it might have been only the PS5 that had liquid metal as a primary heat transfer mechanism.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to when you do something new, you've got new challenges that aren't always anticipated, and it'll get sorted out. I just know the reviewers are struggling in some parts of the world.
But yeah, it's not. I wouldn't say it's it'd be the exact same problem that if a individual took a PS5, shipped it across the border, you'd run into the same problem that is probably going to...
Only if you disclose what's inside.
We had a server being shipped back, no, as a storage array being shipped back once, and I think it was DHL opened the thing up and gave it back to us because we did not disclose with the proper sticker on the side that it had coin cell batteries. So you usually want to specify what's inside, or...
So before, yes, you do, or risk the wrath of customs.
Yes.
So before we move off of the 5090, reviews coming soon. We can't talk about our results yet, but they are impressive for a lot of the work we've done so far. And when close out on the hardware, obviously the thinness is the biggest thing that stands out to you that you enjoy, thanks in large part to the new cooling design.
A dramatic, completely reversed option that this thing has versus the other one.
Yeah.
No one probably will notice besides me, but the display port is flipped around.
Flipped around how? The notch is pointing
Yeah,
down versus up.
yeah, it changed for some reason. And even the HDMI's flipped.
What's that whole board seems to be just the connections is.
So the weird part with it is a lot of the platforms that we have are designed, we work with a lot of monitors that will have a display port cable that has a little retention clip, and you can generally go from below, pinch the retention clip and pull the card out. On one of the platforms I installed this card into, to get the little retention dude out, I use a flathead screwdriver because it was covered by part of the case. So, yeah, it's reversed. I'm not really sure why.
Okay. I'm glad that brought you joy.
Yes.
In terms of benchmarks, we're actually not running. We're not running any gaming benchmarks, are we? We're not loading any games and doing game.
I might do a little bit of that, but our primary focus isn't a lot of the gaming performance. I am interested more of some of the AI features that are coming.
Yes. Well, the question is, have we tested any computational tasks? I mean, you're running like spec workstation, right? And
no,
we're not running spec work. Why are we not doing that? Drivers?
We were given a very specific set of drivers.
All right. Anyway, we will be doing what we can do for the review. We will be doing more after the review as the software stack matures. Our emphasis is not going to be on gaming. There's going to be 100 websites that do gaming benchmarks on this, and if that's your focus, which we understand is 98% of the world, then go read those. I'm sure they'll do a better job than we ever could dream of in terms of gaming. What we want to do is just look at it from the angle of, if you want to use it for productivity tasks, professional tasks, what's the impact there? Video editing, the AI layers that Kevin was talking about with Topaz for manipulating video and enhancing it. There's a lot of activities like that where these cards can be really good, and so we're going to go that way.
Yeah, it should be fun.
It is fun. The embargo is sometime on Thursday, right? Do you know what time?
Noon?
Noon with a question mark. Okay. Specific to CFD and AI training, these are things that we will be doing more work around. It's definitely on the list. So if you've got some specific thoughts and you're not in our Discord yet, definitely get in there and make sure you're chatting with us. It's discord.gg/storage review. We talk about a lot of these projects, and for our more senior members, they get some extra access to our projects, to our lab for hardware and input on testing. So we would love to hear from you on all of these things. So thank you. Okay, so we've got some feedback on MIG. The L40S is not supported for MIG, only according to Johannes, A100, H100 only.
Huh, okay.
So that's interesting. Did not know that, which is why we use the hive mind of the internet to help us out. What else do we have? Please benchmark LLM performance for small LLMs. That's on the list, actually. Did you work with the Devanch on that yet?
I was given a little bit of set of drivers.
Oh,
I can't say more than that.
You sound like a
I know.
freaking victim of
We're doing as much.
kidnapping.
I'm doing as much as I'm physically able to do, which is somewhere limited to a specific set of drivers. Like
Oh my
I have a
gosh.
specific set of skills.
Yeah.
I need those
Yes,
drivers.
you and Liam Neeson. All right, moving on. We've got a couple other projects I want to hit that we're working on. That's not, I mean, yes, we'll get there. Serverpartdeals.com.
Yes.
We have never worked with them before directly. We did buy a weird zone drive from them last year. We reviewed it. It went over swimmingly well because it's a huge capacity, but it's a weird zone drive, and I don't know. Anyway,
Where'd it go?
we bought a drive from them. They actually sent us a bunch of these. This is a WD 22 terabyte with the serial number protected to save the innocent drive. But we've got
I lost the other one.
it's in here somewhere. But we got 4 or 5 of these from serverpartdeals.com. We're going to be writing up how they work, how recertified drives work. But so far, it just behaves like any other drive, right?
Yeah. I mean, really, the part. A lot of drives. I mean, if you've used drives over the years, you generally don't see them fail outside of shipping. So, recertified parts, they'll come in through either excess quantity order. Things will end up going back, and not everything can be sold as new once it's powered on. So that's how things get back into this market. And these server part deals dudes have a lot of interesting things to handle shipping.
Right. So they've determined that their AFR, their failure rate of the recertified drives versus a brand new channel or retail drive is relatively similar. I don't have the actual stats, but I don't have any reason to not believe they're telling the truth. And from their perspective, what they're saying is most drives die in shipping, like you said. I think anyone that's bought hard drives before has a horrible experience, whether it's Amazon or Newegg.
A little individual baggie, like sliding around in a case.
We got a FedEx bubble mailer, their packs, or was it a box? It was one of the two. It had 2 hard drives in it, and they were just in the foil bag willy-nilly. They were just in the bag willy-nilly, banging into each other, and
it was sealed drives.
Most of the drives did not work after that.
It was funny is they did kind of work the first time you powered them on. They were sealed drives, and the different things were like banging each other and dented into the top of the case. And yeah, you power it on, you get to hear the drives going.
Anytime you can hear your hard drive making a crunchy noise, that's no bueno. So we're going to be working on this report. Point being is they've got these nice bubble packs that ride in the single drive box. And then on the multi-drive box, I was trying to figure out how to show this really well. But this is pretty cool. It kind of...
Oh, actually.
There's a bottom foam... Oh, it's the other side. Yeah, there's 2 foamy parts. And I think this might be a server parts deal innovation that they made.
Yeah, but it just...
That when you jam that in the box, it snugs in super tight, and this holds 5 of them really, really nicely. So I think this part goes upside down. So anyway, just another thing that that we're working on, in just a neat design with a nice sturdy box, a little foam holder for 5 drives. The other cool thing about this, and I haven't looked at their inventory in a week or two, but these are 22s. They sent us some 20s. I've seen higher capacity stuff on their website.
I would be showing off a 27 terabyte drive.
We have a 27 in here somewhere, but it's a ZNS one, so not for everybody. But these are the mainstream SATA drives that...
yeah, it's a DC HC 570.
Yes, that don't require any special software or manipulations. But some of these high capacity drives are really hard to find in the channel or in retail. So if you want some of the highest capacity, those guys have them. So check out serverpartdeals.com. We don't get paid if you do, or so if you don't, I don't really care. But good guys to work with, good shipping, good warranty and service, and we'll have a report coming out on that very soon.
Yeah.
2 more things. This server.
Yes, we finally got our first Grand Rapids platform in, so a full P-core CPU. This dude is a single product variant. We just wrapped up our testing. The review should be out shortly. It uses their 128 core CPU. We've looked at the 144 core E-core model. This guy is really fast. The 144s, they performed quite well in number, but they weren't really designed to go toe-to-toe with a lot of the high-performance platforms. It'd be more of like, hey, if you have a system with an older 8280 or 8380 CPU, those are what those 144 core CPUs are aiming for. This guy is just incredibly fast.
This is the single proc, right? You might have said that while I was checking the chat. What's neat from that standpoint that I kind of like about the single proc systems is no NUMA issues with your storage or anything else in the system.
Yeah.
That we've run into before.
So I was wondering where the mascot is. I had to bring out the.
Oh, that's the anti-static sloth.
Yes, he removes all of the static.
Well, he's not grounded to anything.
Well, he could be grounded to the card temporarily for producing all static into the card.
Anyway,
Yeah.
we're really happy to have the P-core system in. The E-core systems have been okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they're fine for mainstream virtualization.
Although 288 cores in a platform is nuts, and we have encountered things where server 2022 didn't really want to work, server 2025 had to be used. I mean, it's just, you're starting to throw so many cores at a platform where legacy stuff tends to get finicky.
Yeah, and so we're 128 in here. So
Yeah.
we've got the top end 6980p, I think is what it is.
Yeah, it's either 6980 or 6890. It's one of those.
6980, I think. Only a couple drives in the front, but be that as it may, this one should be pretty quick. We've got this review is close to done, right?
Yeah, and actually, I think that would fit. And then it's GPU enabled.
And it has enough power.
Yes.
So that it's
I
got
think-
both power supplies, which is nice.
I would have to check the. Ooh, I'm going to see if it has the right power cable, because if it does,
All right, Kevin is.
one memento.
Kevin is. You're still on the mic, so don't go to the bathroom. Kevin's gone to find the parts box for the Super Micro server, and you can hear him groaning.
They didn't give us the power cable.
All right, so that won't work, but we'll keep playing and see. But this review should be done very, very quickly, so that's exciting. Okay, you shook the Lego box before. As most of you know, we've been working with Solidigm quite a bit on these 61 terabyte drives, 61.44. And what's cool about these too is we're seeing a lot of vendors qualify them now. Dell uses these in PowerScale. We've seen the high capacity drives in Vast Data.
Did
other
anyone
places.
see the person on Reddit Data Hoarder that ordered a, I think it was a refurbed.
Oh yeah, off the refurb store. That was sick.
It's either an R740 or R750, and they didn't have the you know, maybe he was buying one of the AMD models, and he ended up getting one of the Intel variants. But they're like, this is the closest thing we have. You got this system in, and it's full of 24 of the 30 terabyte drive. Like just nuts. I'm not sure if it's the Solidigm product, or the Kioxia product, but that dude won the lottery in terms of used drive acquisition.
He got what, 100K in flash or more?
I think used is like 120,000.
That's
nuts.
insane. And so Dell was like, "Is that cool?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, that's cool. We'll take that." So yeah, we've used the 6144s for quite some time, and now you double again in capacity. And while we do not have a 122 in yet, I was at the launch event in New York last year. We do have a building. It's not Lego. It's a building brick set
Something like that.
to put together.
It is Lego. It's one of those custom sets.
Huh.
So either sewing. Yeah, they're all Lego.
So
I
it's
think
an authentic Lego set that somebody must have
assembled.
designed them. So I don't know who's going to put this together. The intern already went home for the day.
Little intern.
So we'll be assembling our own 122 terabyte Solidigm SSD. I don't think this is going to be fast because I'm not sure there's a real NVMe interface in here.
Oh, if they included a Molex connector that like kind of attached and I could slot it in, that would make for a fantastic support call.
It's got screw holes on it, but I don't know if they're going to be really usable. If those were threaded.
Oh my God, that'd be a perfect
That'd
way
be
to
pretty
use
sick.
one of those 4-hour support contracts. Like, I just got this 122 and it's not working. I need to replace my motherboard stat.
Yeah, make someone drive out here, and then they
Yeah.
get here and they're like, "What the hell are you guys doing?" So those are the current projects this week. We're in town this week and next week before heading out west again. Anything else we're missing that's on the immediate radar?
Not really. I think that kind of covers the main items. And then we have some new workloads coming out in the background. I won't really call those on new products.
No, but we are going to do some more
Oh, the
testing.
61 terabyte data store.
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
that's testing. That's almost done. Another 61 terabyte QLC SSD.
Yeah.
DAPU Store, we've always been happy with their performance profile,
Yeah.
so it's another option. They're not huge in the US, but they are in other markets. And just because we're sitting here in Cincinnati, it doesn't mean that the rest of the world doesn't want to read the content and look at performance scores.
Yes, and it's another item that we can have operating in the lab and keep our building warm because our lab heats the building.
One other CES note, our good friend Eric went from QNAP to Ugreen. I don't know if you had time to get over there, but
I did. That
Ugreen's like we did some pieces on their initial NASs, but it sounds like they're really trying to kick some NAS ass right
yes,
at this
and
point.
they have like really cute chargers, but the AI features on their NAS platforms are kind of unique. I haven't seen the same push on Synology or QNAP really. A lot of those have leveraged little add-on products. They're looking to just incorporate more things on board, but a lot of fun products coming from them on the horizon.
Yeah, and I don't know if we'll be going back to CES again next year because there's just so much going on, unless there's a little NVIDIA junket again to go attack. But
Yeah, I think if I went there, I'd probably just stay somewhere not at the convention center and not even go there.
yeah, it's really, when you look at the coverage on any of the news stations, it's robotics, it's cars, it's so much more. I mean, the last time I was there, we were covering digital cameras and laptops and things like that.
Oh, yeah, well, one of the parts that was kind of strange is the when I was there maybe 10 years ago, HP and others were still like located in the LVCC. Now they're kind of in their own hotel range, and it ends up being the smaller, not component,
More intimate kind of. Oh, in the hotel rooms, yeah. But you're talking about the people on the show floor.
well, not, they were like, it was like little expo centers everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, the show floor, a lot of small accessories are really popular there. But a lot of the meetings for computer products were all in separate areas.
Despite us not streaming on TikTok, TikTok does live
Yes, it survived.
for now.
Yes.
I'm bullish on it. I think it's not too big to fail like Enron. I mean, those guys pulled through okay.
Did you survive the night? I think I was like, oh crap, it went offline and I went to bed. But
No,
I
I
think
told everyone to chill out that was upset about it. I said it'll be back.
it was working the next morning.
Yes. So we are there. We didn't stream there today because it broke our
We tried
will to
3
live.
times.
Yeah.
Turn it on, it just killed
will
OBS.
to live. But we are on the other platforms. But for those of you that aren't on Discord, make sure you get involved in that. I mentioned it once, but we're continually talking about the projects. Our authors are in there. Kevin and I are in there sometimes, and really love to get the audience feedback. So that's discord.gg/storageview. Oh no!
One second before we close, someone mentioned that
Someone
sloth
sent
drive.
Kevin off on another side quest. Oh no. I'm not sure what you've done to send him away, but we do have an amazing amount of projects going on, and considering we're just in the middle of January. Oh, you found the sloth state? I didn't want to bring it up because I wasn't sure you'd find it that fast. Kevin's afraid to plug this into his system.
I still need a benchmark. I'm not sure there's any other review site that has a follower-driven site branded SSD, but one exists. It's a solid state drive, and it's 128 gig. I believe it is.
It's huge. I think there's 6 or 8 of them in existence.
Yeah, we're on. Actually, I think I was given stickers where I could write my own serial number on it.
That's serial number 1. Yeah, so we do have a sloth state drive. It is probably the slowest of all the drives.
I hope it's faster than that $3 SSD.
Oh, we were in Raleigh last week with NetApp. That was a big deal.
And Eaton.
And Eaton. Oh, I'm glad you said that too. Okay, so on Instagram, we posted some pictures of our adventures, trying to get better about that. But for photos, I'm posting those primarily on Instagram. So if you kind of want to see day to day what's going on or new products or where we are, trying to do that more on Instagram and then on X. But on Instagram, we did post some pictures of the new NetApp ASA, which we've got a full report coming on. We worked with those guys last week on that. Essentially, it's a block-only version and block optimized of their all-flash FAS. So it takes ONTAP, trims it down to block, does some path optimization, and uses a black bezel instead of the white bezel for AFF, so you can tell the difference.
Yes, and of all things, bezels are.
Bezels are wonderful.
Yes, they are.
And when you have them and they light up and everything works, it's a glorious time. But no, it was great to be in RTP with NetApp again. Love working with those guys. Also visited Eaton, as you said, Mike.
It's one of the first, or I should say, it's one of the only customer experience centers where when you walk in the door, you see a sloth.
Yeah, so they built this new, since we've been there, it's a new customer center to show all their power solutions and racks and PDUs and that sort of thing. And we walk in, go to the right, and they've got the cable trays with the little storage view sloth chilling in there, which is kind of neat. Mike DeCamp has been a longtime supporter of Eaton. All the racks behind me are Eaton. All the power and PDU is Eaton, and the batteries are all Eaton. So we're big fans and appreciate their support. But yeah, Mike has been in our Discord, speaking of Discord, and he's gone out of his way, and he doesn't have to do this, but he's gone out of his way to help several individuals with very minute problems where they couldn't quite get the attention of corporate support or whatever, and he's gone and helped solve a lot of problems for a lot of you. So again, check out their stuff, buy it if you like. I encourage you to do so. We don't get anything if you do, but they support us, and so we like to make sure you guys know about them. Again, active in the Discord, so if you need anything with Eaton, get in there and they'll help you out, or he'll help you out personally for sure. And they had a bunch of new squishy toys too in their little claw game, which is rigged.
I actually did not see that game. I was looking at. I walked around looking at the products.
I played that game 23 times and got no products. And Mike's like, you want some of the squishies anyway? I said, no, I didn't earn them. I don't deserve them. Got low self-esteem.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I think we were done before. If we covered off on all of our stuff
I believe
for the
so.
week. And I'm sure there's some other questions. If I didn't see them, we will try to get to them directly or in the chat after, or the comments afterwards. Hey, if you like the sloth, store.storageview.com, where we've got the sloth and we've got the bonk magnets. We don't have one around, but the bonk magnets and hoodies. So check that out if you want to support us. Until next time, hopefully before October 4th. Maybe we'll do this Mondays from now on.
Yes, as long as we do it with some regularity, it will not be as painful for everyone involved on the start and stop and start and stop.
Yeah, most